Okay, ready to go? Okay. Ready when you are. We live? All right. Good afternoon, councillors. Good afternoon, staff members in the room, and good afternoon to our community members in on live streaming. It's a special council meeting today to consider the recruitment of the temporary Chief Executive Officer. And before proceeding any further, I would like to acknowledge the Durrumbal people, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, and their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you very much. Councillors, we have two reports to consider, one in open session and one in confidential. So we'll go to the open session notice of motion from Councillor Mather in the first instance in regards to the recruitment of the temporary Chief Executive Officer. So before we go to debate on the matter, and a mover and a seconder, and I'm assuming Councillor Mather wishes to move, are there any questions in relation or seeking clarity on this particular report? No? Okay. So Councillor Mather, we'll go to a mover and a seconder. So moving, Councillor Mather, you're moving this report?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I am.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for this one? Thank you.
In the interest of public debate, I'm prepared to second the motion. Through you, Mr Chair, I'm prepared to second this motion on the grounds that I believe it's paramount that people are afforded the chance to have a say. I certainly reserve my right, though, to perhaps form a different opinion from the motion that I'm actually prepared to second, but to give the good councillor the opportunity to present it and based on its merits, and I'll be making a decision following that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bello. So we have a mover in Councillor Mather and a seconder in Councillor Bello. Councillor Mather, would you like to speak to your report?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. And I'd like to thank the good councillor, the good deputy, for giving me the opportunity to speak to this motion, because as a preface I would say that I gave it some deep thought before I put this forward, but it wasn't in the interest of myself or any particular member, but in the interest of the organisation. So, Mr Mayor, I'd like to formally move that given the disruption to most sections of the organisation in recent times, causing a number of staff to be acting positions for some time, Council delay the permanent appointment of a new Chief Executive Officer at this time, but instead appoint a temporary Chief Executive Officer for a period of 12 months to restore stability to the organisation and confirm our new direction. And as we have a second, Mr Mayor, I'll proceed with my argument there. Mr Mayor, this council needs more than anything stability. It needs a permanent Chief Executive Officer. There's no two ways about that. We've got so many people in this organisation so willing to move forward with positive thoughts and positive actions to take us into the future. In the last 12 months or so, we've lost so many senior staff with memories and knowledge of the Shire. What's good for us, what's bad for us, what mistakes we must avoid in the future. We've lost 4 people in infrastructure alone, my department. And it's really hard when you're trying to explain things, what you need, what you see is happening, and nobody seems to appreciate it. One of the new people is also leaving, which sets us back even further. So there's more recruitment to go there. Human Resources has had its difficulties in more recent times, having a new mayor, 2 new councillors who are still learning, and we're all learning for that matter. We have some major financial obstacles we have to address. And as I see it at this particular time, we really need somebody who understands where we've come from and where we need to go. I had somebody in mind who understood us, who knew our weaknesses, knew where we'd come from, and knew how to get us where we know we have to be. We have some major obstacles to jump over, and most importantly, our viability as a shire. I haven't stuck it out this long to give up now. But I also want to make sure that we don't make any more mistakes. That when we go into the future, we can learn from what's happened before us. And I know whatever we do with the best intentions for the organisation. And I appreciate that. And I have to say, it's really good working with a team of councillors who have the same vision. It's really, really good. But this is one for a hard decision. And I believe at this particular moment, that hard decision is that we need someone to bed us down, to understand our current needs, and who has the ability, proven ability, to put us into a position where everybody is leaning towards confidence, leaning towards positivity, and leaning towards cooperation. So, Mr. Mayor, I said, I dealt with this, I thought about this for a very long time, and there's no doubt in my mind that this is what we need at this time. And if somebody wanted to change the 12 months for 6 months, I would have no problem with that. But I do know that we need a proven performer to get us over this hurdle before we step into yet another brand new person, especially the person who is going to lead the organisation, who will have no idea of where we come from or where we're going to. So that's why it's important to have somebody in this position for a short time to actually fulfil what we need, what we see as a need to be able to carry on from this point in time. Because the exercise we had this morning, if I'd have come up with this idea after that, I'd say it would have all gelled together. What that exercise told us is that I'm absolutely right. And I have no qualms, and I'm very confident of what I'm saying. If people don't want to take that on board and trust in my instincts, I will respect their decision. But all I know, it's going to take us a lot longer to get to where we need to be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mather. So Councillor Mather has spoken to her motion. Is anyone wishing to speak against the motion?
Yeah, I'll speak against, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Bello.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the people of Livingstone for the opportunity to make a decision in their best interest. My support, I guess, for this motion, which was evident only in seconding it, ends at this point, because whilst I believe it's important to allow the Councillor Mather to put forward her point of view, my point of view on this is different to that. So whilst it may hopefully, well, it may seem confusing, I hope that it becomes clearer for the reasons as follows. I'm not supporting the motion that has been put forward by Councillor Mather on the basis that I believe finally, after a very long and protracted time frame where we were ably managed under the guidance of the acting CEO, Mr. Brett Bacon, who his primary role was the director of all things to do with planning, and I think he did an outstanding job under very difficult circumstances. Now we finally get some clear space where a decision has been made, and we are now in a position to appoint a CEO. And to do so and appoint a temporary one, to me would be repeating the same process virtually that we've just been through, whereby you've got another acting person who's not really there. They're there for a short time. And I don't believe that that actually instills stability and confidence, but perhaps it just delays what is, for us, the most important decision that we may make in our term, and that is to seek to find the most suitable person that is going to lead this organisation from an operational perspective, and we have the ability to do that. And on those grounds, I disagree with this motion. Perhaps if it had been put forward 6 months ago, we may have thought differently. But in hindsight, we did not know how long it would take to deal with the matter that faced this council, and that was difficult territory to find ourselves in. But now we are out of that territory. We have the ability to make a firm decision on our direction forward, and I believe a permanent CEO is the best way to go. And on those grounds, I stand by my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bello, is anyone wishing to speak in support of Councillor Mather's resolution? Okay, I think Councillor Friend had her finger down first, Councillor Eastwood. So, Councillor Friend.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I want to thank Councillor Mather for putting this notice of motion through. Honourable reasons, and I'm in complete agreement that we need stability. The town needs stability. Our staff need stability. And I believe moving forward, the only way with that stability is for a full term of a new CEO. We are in a position where we are going to outsource this and look at all people that apply, and everybody who applies as a candidate will be looked at, and in fair and in an equitable way. I believe the last two CEOs that this council has had have been appointed, just appointed, stepped up from a position of a director into becoming a CEO. And therefore, we haven't had the opportunity as a council and a council table to look at all of the options that are out there. So, yes, I do agree we need stability, and we need stability in the long term. And whoever obtains that position will learn about Livingstone if they're not from Livingstone, or perhaps they will be. We don't know. But they will already have the capability to undertake the position of a Chief Financial Officer because of their references and the study that they've undertaken in their life. And I do believe that we do need a full-time CEO, and placing a temporary CEO in for a period of 12 months, albeit 6 months, is just another hold on the whole process. And we need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Friend. I'm assuming there's no one wishing to speak for the motion. Councillor Eastwood, I'll go to you now. Thank you.
I'll just be very brief, Mr Mayor, councillors. And I'd too thank the good councillor for putting this notice of motion forward and putting a lot of thought into it. It came really obvious this morning in our session when we heard the acting CEO speak in relation to pretty much the council being in a caretaker mode for the past 10, 12 months. And that in itself reeks of instability. And so if we want to add some stability to this council, we need a permanently filled position with a candidate that fits the process and passes the process of our liking and making, that can fill this role and give stability to the organisation as a whole. And that will pass right down through the ranks. And so on that ground, I'll have to say that I disagree with Councillor Mather's motion and speak against it. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Eastwood. Does anyone else wish to speak against the motion? Okay. Councillor Hutton, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Livingstone has a 30-year Livingstone 2050 community plan. Livingstone has a 10-year corporate plan, a 10-year infrastructure plan in terms of our capital program. It has a 4-year forecast for budgets. Livingstone has vision forward. However, to achieve vision, it requires leadership, it requires confidence, it requires stability. That's achieved by having an elected member group that have signed off on those strategic documents and that alignment as to where we're seeking to take the community. It has buy-in from the community, but it also has a organisation that not only understands it but shares and is driving that vision as well. We have in our organisation amazing officers, we have amazing staff at all levels who are all working to achieve that goal. Creating a period of further instability by filling a temporary role as the CEO doesn't provide the leadership the organisation requires. It doesn't provide the stability for long-term planning for both our staff, the organisation, for the community. And for those reasons, I cannot support this motion. Our community demands it, our organisation needs it, and I think as a council, we require it as well. So the next step for us is to obviously address the mayoral minute that follows this agenda item, but for those reasons I can't support the current notice of motion before us, and we'll be voting no.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Councillors, I'll speak to this as well. In my experience in local government, you appoint an interim CEO generally for one of two reasons. Either as a fill-in while you are waiting to make a more permanent appointment as a replacement for a vacancy, or alternatively, if you are seeking to make major change in an organisation. I'm not aware that the latter is on the agenda for this council, so I have trouble supporting Councillor Mather's motion on the grounds that a lot of the other councillors have basically espoused, and that is, if we are going to bed this organisation down, if we are going to provide stability for the staff and for our community, then we need to have a permanent CEO. Someone who, as Councillor Hutton eloquently put, is going to pursue the Community Plan 2050 on Council's behalf and enact Council's direction with it. So, councillors, I understand Councillor Mather's position, but I can't support it in the sense that it really, for mine, having been in caretaker mode, as Councillor Eastwood puts it, for the last 12 months, we need stability in this organisation. We need to have a permanent CEO here who is going to assist all of us to drive the organisation forward so that we can start achieving the visions that we're putting in place. I think setting in place an interim CEO sends entirely the wrong message to the organisation and the community. It basically says, well, we're going to have another 6 months or another 12 months of this instability. We can't make up our mind. So, councillors, I won't be supporting the motion either, and I do thank Councillor Mather for bringing it to the table because it was a discussion that I think we needed to have and was worthy. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Mather, would you like to sum up then? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nobody knows greater than I that we need stability, we need leadership. That was shown here in the survey results today. And let me say, and I don't mean this to be any insignificant comment, we have been in acting mode, certainly for 12 months. And I'd have to say the performance of our acting CEO in his role, he's done that with distinction. And I mean because we've had our hurdles and he's had his, and I guess more than we probably even get to learn about at this table. But thank you, Brett, for taking us through those troubled times. Looking at those results again today, I could see them jumping out at me all the way through. There's gaps in the system. I'm hoping to plug the gaps. Hoping to plug the gaps with people who know how to do it, what is needed. We need familiarity at this time, in a short-term basis, to plug those gaps. Because it's still not bedded down outside, and it's going to take change. We talk about we'll need major change. I do believe major change is coming. There has to be, to get us back on track. It was said today that if I'd have put this through 6 months ago, well, we all know that's not possible. We're in the middle of an ocean on a life raft. We didn't know which way we're travelling. So that was impossible. As much it would have been desirable. 20 to 50 plans, all other plans, they're living documents. Whoever's at the helm we'll follow that through. But we are the drivers. We are the ones that need to monitor it and keep it on track. Because we've done the survey, we've talked to the people, and we've ticked off on these plans. Whoever comes in at the top now will see that it was for good reason and it has the endorsement of the organisation. So whoever's at the top will fit in nicely. But my vision, my familiarity of the organisation and the people in it, what I know, and there have been a lot of changes, that's what worries me. So many changes. Everywhere I look, there are changes. I just didn't want anybody at the top at this moment until we could bed them down by somebody who knew how to do it. And that's really all I need to say. But just imparting, Mr. CEO, Acting CEO, thank you, Brett. We do appreciate what you've done for this organisation in these very troubled waters. Thank you.
Thank
Call
you,
the
Councillor
division,
Mather.
Mr Chair.
Okay, so we'll go to a vote, and division has been called on this one. So we have a mover in Councillor Mather, a seconder in Councillor Bello. So all in favour of the notice of motion from Councillor Mather? Councillor Mather. Those against? The motion is lost. So on that basis, councillors, we shall move on to the next item on the agenda, which is to be dealt with within the confidential section of council. So may I have a mover and a seconder to move into confidential, please? Councillor Friend, Councillor Bello, thank you very much. All in favour? Okay, Councillor Hutton, you're okay with that? You're right? Okay.
If I could, Mr Mayor, just to check that for the record, that the section in the Act that was up there when the report was written will be changed to reflect the Local Government Act relevant section as of today. There have been amendments to legislation which started on the 12th of October. Obviously, we couldn't in the agenda reference legislation which at the time didn't exist, so there might be some confusion to people looking at the agenda on the web and then what they will see in the minutes. So I thought I'd better clarify that.
And to clarify as well, the report was put into the confidential agenda under the previous legislation. Okay, so we're now in confidential. So we'll come back to our Okay, councillors, we're back, and to the members of our community live streaming, thank you for persevering with us. So can I move that we come out of confidential? Thank you, councillors. I move in a second. It moved Councillor Mather, seconded Councillor Eastwood. Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. All right, councillors, so the recommendation to council is that following a review of the quotations submitted by a number of recruitment consultants pursuant to a request for quote process undertaken by council officers, leading roles be appointed to undertake the recruitment process for the vacant Chief Executive Officer position at Livingstone Shire Council. As this is my report, councillors, I shall move that and seek a seconder, please. Councillor Friend, thank you. Okay, so councillors, I don't wish to speak to the motion any further than I have in the confidential session. So just for the information of the members of our community live streaming, the recommendation is about appointing a recruitment consultant to undertake the recruitment process for the Chief Executive Officer at this council. A number of agencies were approached for a quotation, and based on the criteria set within the quotation request, leading roles is now recommended to be appointed. Councillor, anyone speaking against the resolution or the recommendation? Councillor Friend, would you like to speak to it? No. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the recommendation? All right, councillors, we'll go straight to the vote then. So the resolution is, as I'll read it again, that following a review of the quotations submitted by a number of recruitment consultants pursuant to a request for quote process undertaken by council officers, leading roles be appointed to undertake the recruitment process for the vacant Chief Executive Officer position at Livingstone Shire Council. So we've got a mover and a seconder. All in favour? As against? Did you wish your vote recorded, Councillor Mather? Okay. Okay, so being a special meeting of council, and these are the only matters for discussion today, I'll officially close the meeting. Thank you, councillors, for your attendance, and thank you to the members of our community who viewed in on live streaming.